All right, y'all. It is January the 4th, 2017. As you might have gathered, you might have already gathered, this series of videos I put on a separate little playlist so that you can play them right through. That way you understand what's the order and you don't get all jumbled up. All right, we're about to go ahead. What we're going to do is start to read this article. It's just going to be me reading you some of this here article. All right. What we're going to do is read a little bit and then analyze, and then we're going to close the video out, and on the next video we're going to read some more. Like I said, it's going to be jam-packed to the rafters with information, with answers, with all sort of questions you might not have never had. Before I continue, I'd like to say that Chick-fil-A has nothing to do with this video. I just happen to have this shirt on. They're not affiliated, nor do they share my resolve in things. Y'all, let's just go ahead and dive into things. Chick-fil-A is not a part of this. Anyways, this is on Vanity Fair. It's an article written by a lady named Emily Chang, and I gotta say, Emily Chang, you did a superb job. This is a superb example of journalism, and I appreciate it. Emily Chang from Vanity Fair. Now, like I said, the title is, "Oh my God, this is so flipped up." Inside Silicon Valley's secretive, orgiastic dark side. Let's go ahead and read into this a little bit. Some of the most powerful men in Silicon Valley are regulars at exclusive drug-fueled, sex-laced parties. All right? That's how the article starts off. Now, a lot of us who are grown up, we might not be shocked by this, because a lot of us who are grown up, before we continue, we understand that the people of Silicon Valley getting that money, all right? They get crazy money. You understand? I mean, it's somewhere between like these athlete stars, these LeBron Jameses, and a Donald Trump usually. Typically, that's the kind of money that they're getting. A lot of it, right? The Silicon Valley, because you develop things, that people buy over and over and over and over again. It's just liable to make you a lot of money and continue to make you a lot of money. So people understand this about Silicon Valley. They might not be exactly shocked to hear that these people go to drug-fueled, sex-laced parties. All right, that might not be shocking yet, and it certainly didn't shock me. All right. But let's go ahead and continue, because it's going to get worse. It's going to get way worse. We're going to see how worse it gets. Gatherings they describe not as scandalous, these drug-fueled sex-laced parties. They don't describe them as scandalous or even secret, but as a bold, unconventional lifestyle choice. Well, that's interesting, is it not? It's bold. The people involving themselves here in Silicon Valley and stuff, they're getting into the orgies and stuff, but they don't see it as scandalous. In fact, lots of times they're very open about it, and lots of times they say it's a new, unconventional, it's brand new, and it's bold, unconventional lifestyle choice is what they're calling it. So let's just continue to read. Yet, while the guys get laid, the women get screwed. All right, and I would have to say that's quite accurate. In an adaptation from her new book, Brotopia, Emily Chang exposes the tired and toxic dynamic at play. Now, before we continue, I gotta say, Emily Chang is probably right on the money as far as, ladies getting absolutely screwed in this situation. It ain't good. You could call it sexist. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive into the meat and potatoes of this article. It's by Emily Chang. She says this: about once a month on a Friday or Saturday night, the Silicon Valley technorati gather for a drug-heavy, sex-heavy party. Sometimes the venue is an epic mansion in San Francisco's Pacific Heights. Sometimes it's a lavish home in the foothills of Atherton or Hillsborough. On special occasions, the guests will travel north to someone's chateau in Napa Valley, or to a private beachfront property in Malibu, or to a boat off the coast of Ibiza. You start to understand it's a lot of different places. They're very extravagant. All right, and the bacchanal will last an entire weekend full of sex orgy. That's what these people are participating in it, and we're probably not shocked yet. I wasn't shocked yet. The places change, but many of the players and the purposes remain the same. All right, let's continue. The stories I've been told by nearly 24 people who have attended these events or have intimate knowledge of them are remarkable in a number of ways. Many participants don't seem the least bit embarrassed, and that's very significant. They're not ashamed. All right, on the contrary, they speak proudly about how they're overturning traditions, that's very significant, and paradigms in their private lives, just as they do in the technologically world that they rule, the technology world. All right, like Julian Assange denouncing the nation state, industry hotshots speak of these activities in a tone that is at once self-congratulatory and dismissive of criticism at the same time. Their behavior at these high-end parties is an extension of the progressiveness and open-mindedness. You see these significant keywords: progressiveness, open-mindedness, unconventional, breaking the paradigms. You see, a sort of a rebellion. All right, so the audacity, if you will, that make founders think that they can change the world. You see how they believe that it's their open-mindedness. The people in Silicon Valley creating these apps and these little technological things, getting all that money, they think it's their open-mindedness that's got them to where they're at. And so they should be sexually open-minded as well. And they preach it. They preach this sort of thing for some sort of reason. And before we continue, like I've said, they're going to bring up keywords. The keywords that we just said right now, you know, unconventional, breaking paradigms, progressiveness. And they're speaking on behalf of their sexuality, these people. What I have to let you know is, before we continue, the world is an old place, and a lot of people lived on it. A lot of people had sex before on it, many different ways. In fact, every single different way. In fact, many times over. So it's kind of funny. You're going to find it more and more silly. The idea is to be progressive. The idea is to be open-minded. The idea is to expand horizons, sexually speaking. Nothing that any of these people do is original. It's all been done before, but not only that, it's been done before many times over. You think you're original, you think you're breaking new ground, it's because you're a retard and you never thought about nothing. The world is too old for that. Yes, that's been done. I don't care what you're doing sexually. Yes, it has been done many times over. So it's silly and preposterous, but this is the mindset that they're going to keep. All right, it's backwards. In a sense, it's suicidal, but they don't know this. All right, so let's see. Finish out that paragraph. It says, few participants, however, have been willing to describe these scenes to me without a guarantee of anonymity. You understand that these big hotshot people that Emily Chang is talking to, all right, they're big hotshots. They're very open. They say, oh, you know, we need to be progressive. We need to be open-minded. We need to break traditions down in a way that's never been done before, even though it has been done before so many times. All right, they're very open about, oh, you know, this should be the way. This should be the new way. We should just be all sexually open. All right, we need to be, except don't share my name. Don't you put my name in this article. You see how weird, and absolutely, it's the definition of hypocritical, and it is retarded. It is retarded. So let's continue just for a little bit longer. if this were just confined to personal lives, and this is the words of Emily Chang, it would be one thing, and I would agree with her. But what happens at these sex parties and in open relationships, which is a brand new trending thing that's never been done before, unfortunately, it doesn't stay there. All right. The freewheeling sex lives pursued by men in tech, Silicon Valley, that whole region of industry, from the elite down to the rank and file, from the tippy top to the people in the mailroom, the sex lives that they all basically pursue, all right, they have consequences for how business gets done in Silicon Valley. I'm talking about money changing hands. I'm talking about sexual activities all over the place. Some people might find that concerning. I don't know. Let's read a little bit on. Sex parties of the tech and famous. All right. It says this. From reports of those who have attended these parties, guests and hosts include powerful first-round investors. Right? So you don't have to be a tech person necessarily. If you're just investing money into tech, you can go to these parties. Right? Well-known entrepreneurs and top executives. Some of them are the titans of the valley that is the Silicon Valley. They are household names. People know who their names are. The female guests, well, they have different qualifications. All right? If you are attractive and willing, and usually young, real young, you needn't worry about your resume or your bank account. Some of the women work in tech in the Bay Area. They work in tech, but others come from Los Angeles and beyond, probably all over the nation, right? And are employed in symbiotic industries such as real estate, personal training, public relations. These are all people and examples. These are definitely people who exist. All right. In some scenarios, the ratio of women, hold on. In some scenarios, the ratio of women to wealthy men is roughly 2 to 1. I don't know who's shocked by this. Who would be shocked to say that at these parties there's going to be two ladies for every dude, every rich dude in Silicon Valley? All right, so it's 2 to 1. So the men have more than enough women to choose from, obviously. So you know when it's that kind of party, one male tech investor told me, or told Emily Chang, all right. At normal tech parties, and everybody knows this. This is absolutely common sense. At normal tech parties, there are hardly any women. All right? And I'm not being sexist. That's the way it goes. That is the facts. You go to any normal tech party, it's gonna be hard pressed to find ladies. You might find some, maybe. All right? And everybody knows this. So at these other kind of parties, there are tons of ladies. So you know it's the difference. You know what party you're at. You know exactly what's going to go down because there's even ladies there at these tech parties. All right. Before we go ahead and continue reading in the next video, I just want to discuss that is very important to know. There's a certain kind of male that is in existence right now, and they're living in Silicon Valley, most of them. And it's not to say every last one of them, but as a general rule, it is a certain kind of male existing in Silicon Valley. As you can tell, they're so rich. They do have lots of money. I'm talking about LeBron James' money ain't shit, really, compared to what these Silicon Valley people have. All right? They're walking around, and they're tech savvy, you know, as you can imagine, throughout their youth, and I'm not making fun of people, throughout their youth, they haven't really been exposed to ladies very much. They don't know, they're very awkward around women, and that's significant. It's quite significant to note that. All right, they're wandering around. Not only that, but as a general rule, these very same people they will seemingly always vouch for feminism, call themselves feminists, keep talking about glass ceilings, keep talking about, oh, we're keeping women down as a whole society. As a whole society, we're keeping women down. These particular type of men, they're very nerdy. They're not exactly muscular or anything like that, and this is very significant. They're not, by the natural order of things, and we're going to discuss this more later, they're not by the natural order of things attractive to women. All right. However, you can start to understand the incentive would be all the money and glamorous things around these people. It has nothing to do with their exact attractiveness, because traditionally speaking, they're not attractive to ladies. And that's very significant. But what's also very significant is these very same, the Mark Zuckerberg type. You don't think that Mark Zuckerberg knows all these people? The Mark Zuckerberg type of walking around looking like a damn chicken neck Nelly. You don't have no muscles. If you had no money, you wouldn't have no ladies, and everybody knows this. Alright? And meanwhile, they walk around and they spout off things, like I said, to encourage feminism. But naturally, that would be a toxic kind of feminism that's leaving all sort of ladies alone and desperate in their old age. And this is happening all over the place these days. They keep spouting off about how men need to stop acting so manly, all right? Because their manliness is toxic. They're calling it toxic masculinity. When men are big and strong and things of this nature, when they're attractive to ladies, right? We're about to dive into all sort of things, to include the Big Bang Theory, that show that everybody watches. All right, we're going to talk about that because it has everything to do with what we're talking about. This unnatural male figure in Silicon Valley who's having relations with all sort of ladies. But it is unnatural, and we're going to talk about how exactly that totally breaks all the paradigms of what people are even talking about right now, to include all these sexual allegations and what is sexually inappropriate behavior that some people seem to be exhibiting, and also paying a very, very heavy price for, we notice. All right, anyways, January the 4th, 2018, and I'll holler at y'all, and we're going to read a little bit more starting now.